Hey, what's going on, everybody? Another edition of Damian G Sports, talking dark side of the ring again with my tag team partner, aptly named Dio. I'm just Deo on Twitter. My brother, how are we today? The
usual at this point.
Same week, different week, same stuff, right?
Yeah, same shit, different quarantine.
So for the audience, for those who don't know, and you can find me at Damian G347 on Twitter as well as Instagram, Dio at I'm just Deo on both platforms. How have you been keeping busy throughout this quarantine? I know last week you said you've been smoking a lot of THC and drinking, but what else?
You get tired of that quick.
Uh-huh.
Like I've gotten very tired of smoking and drinking. I don't drink a ton. Like it's like THC. I might take a good pull off of the pen once or twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe an edible here and there, but I'm not like high 24/7. It's just to pass the time. I do Instacart.
Yes, I saw you posted on social media.
Part-time. So that's been breaking up the monotony for me the past week. And like I'm not just going out just to go out to do stuff. Like so that's been the cool kind of the interesting thing, because it's not like, oh yeah, these are just like people that don't want to go to the grocery store. Most of them are older people that should not be going out.
Right.
Like almost every single one has been someone over the age of about 55.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm doing something good for them. So I don't feel, I'm not just going out for the sake of going out. So, there's that. But other than that, like creative writing, playing video games. Like I can only hunt so many monsters on Monster Hunter World.
Oh, that's right. You do play Monster Hunter, right?
Before I'm like, all right, bro. Like I don't whoop this monster's ass, and then I'll go run up against like the next level, and I'm just getting shit canned. So I'm like, all right, the game is cheating, so I'm going to leave. I'll go watch. You can only watch so much TV. Like when it's not a situation where I'm watching stuff every damn day, mm-hmm. I will binge watch an entire season of something. Okay. I can't do that now because I binged something yesterday, and now I'm like, I don't want to watch anymore. Like it was like the first week of quarantine, like the joke that was going around Twitter, like dude was like, you know what? Today I completed X videos. And it was just like,
wow. The impossible. Literally the impossible. I do remember back in the days when you could scroll back a couple pages to find the video that you wanted, but that is not a thing anymore. Have they overtaken Pornhub, or is Pornhub still king?
Pornhub's still king. Like, because Pornhub is great at marketing in ways that the RedTubes and the X videos and all the other ones are not. Like, with the whole like leaking movies and playing like things that like they basically pirated stuff and just ate whatever the fine was for pirating it. Like doing things like that made them king of the hill because they were dabbling in things that weren't just porn. And it's become like doing that by going viral, they got the younger generation on their side. And once you got the younger generation, you got the views and followers coming through.
And I think you and I've talked in the past where they've actually had some risque wrestling on Pornhub.
Not risque. Well, they've had risque wrestling. They straight up got people's videos. Like,
but like there was some like not safe for work customs that were leaked.
Oh yeah, no, there's a bunch of them on Pornhub. You can also find wrestlers porn.
I'm assuming you've looked because I have not.
Yeah, like anytime I hear anything like not the stuff from like the fappening or whatever. Like right. But like, so with the whole stuff that went about with Ricochet recently.
Oh.
Like that. So that actually ended up on the timeline, which was like crazy.
What, they posted that live? That was actually posted?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
People, so like wrestling fans are trash.
We know this. Yes.
This is I will reiterate this, but like the way that they will share people's personal videos and pictures is big trash. Like you don't need to be doing that. Like if and then like not just doing that, but then like making it like questioning someone's like manhood or womanhood because they do some sort of sexual act. It's like, look, one, sexuality is a spectrum. Two, do whatever tickles your pickle. Like it is what it is.
Literally.
Literally, yeah. And like if you're a guy, like our G spot's in our butt. So
remember how when we did podcast champs, there's things Damian didn't know.
Yep.
When we did that for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't know that until about maybe a year ago.
Yeah. The prostate is the happy button.
Is that why they tell us to get it checked at 40? No.
So once you're at 40, it can start to like actually swell. The risk of like cancer and things like that is far elevated. Because like we've all heard old men try to go to the bathroom and they're in there sounding like they're fighting a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad prostate.
Okay.
You don't want that. You don't want that. That's why you want to stay constant, constantly drink water. Make sure you drink a good amount of water. Got mine right here.
That's a good PSA for people that don't drink enough water.
Yeah, drink water. Drink so much water.
Get your prostate clean that way.
Get your prostate your prostate's not gonna get clean by water, but like you want to keep that area and everything, like keeping your body hydrated. Yeah, keeping your body hydrated is like one of the best preventative type things because you need water. We are mostly water.
2/3 from what the education system tells us.
Right. So yeah, like it's a whole just take care of yourself, guys.
And I want to apologize to the audience. We didn't mean to start this episode talking about this, but hey, here we are. We're gonna save this for the end of the show, but here we are at the beginning talking about the risque stuff.
We're coming in hot.
And I don't want to say speaking of hot, but it's one of those things where now that we're on the subject, now that wrestling's been quarantined, for the most part, independent wrestling specifically, we've seen the rise of customs.
Yeah.
So my question to you, and for those who don't know, customs is basically a custom shoot where you book two wrestlers or multiple wrestlers to act out a match. Some of it could be erotic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to ease into that.
Some of it can be they didn't ease into it. They didn't ease into it.
But some can be very what's the word I'm looking for? Extreme. So my question to you is with the rise now, it seems now, of customs. And I've seen some MMA fighters actually talk about customs, which is weird. Where do you stand on the whole customs thing? Because I know you're not a wrestler, but as someone who follows combat sports, moderates combat sports, knows, what are your thoughts on it in general?
I don't see an issue with it in the concept. I don't see an issue with it. If these people are willing to do it, it's not harming anybody. It's not illegal. It's not depicting anything racial, racist, misogynistic, blah, blah, blah. The issue that I tend to have with customs tends to be when it comes to women, because that's when you get like the weird, pervy type of customs. And sure, some people are A-okay with doing those, but like when you're an up and coming wrestler and you need to make a few extra bucks, somebody's going to offer you however much to go wrestle with somebody else in this little weird storyline. Of course, you're going to take it. Especially like if you're like right out of college too. What?
I don't feel like all the interesting professions happen right out of college.
Oh yeah, because like one, people are naive.
Yes,
and two, they aren't really worried about the repercussions of things moving forward with life. That's what I tend to see, because like with the rise of like OnlyFans and things like that right now, you have a lot of younger people that are jumping onto that, and so they've grown. I guess you could say like they've kind of grown up with it. Like this, it's not as being a sex worker, which if you are on OnlyFans, you're posting sexual pictures and things of that, you're a sex worker. It just is what it is. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It just is what it is. Right?
Have people said that they're not sex workers if they're on OnlyFans?
Yeah. Because you have folks that think that like so there are exotic dancers that are like, I'm not a sex worker. It's like, yeah, you are. Like if you are grinding on people and things like that, gyrating, simulating sex essentially, it's a sexual act, right? Just because there's no penetration, which that's what a lot of people say is the line. Like if there's penetration of some sort, or someone comes to a climax, then you are a sex worker. But it's, it's nothing wrong with it. Like if that's what you do, that's what you do. But with OnlyFans now, like a lot of people were like, that danced or that lived double lives, I guess you'd say, that were also cam girls at night. Before, that stuff would stay hidden, but now like it's a whole platform and people are losing their jobs because of it. Like I've seen a few of the OnlyFans accounts and such been like, oh yeah, no, I got fired from my job because they sent somebody that didn't like me at work, sent the link to
oh really?
Yeah. So it's like you have this stigma that people still have when it comes to sex work and stuff. That's weird. But yeah, the repercussions, people don't really think about the repercussions now because it's to get money as quickly as possible. Right. Like you've got a bunch of folks that have been like, oh yeah, no, I paid for this house with my OnlyFans content. I was like, yeah, that content is only going to last you for so long. So you need to have something else to fall back on once your allure goes away, because at some point they always do, especially when you are in the game of sex work.
Well, that's the thing. I remember I was on Twitter, I want to say maybe last week, and a young woman was saying that her OnlyFans account paid for the down payment of her house.
Yep.
If that's true, more power to you.
Right.
Hey, you figured out a way to make money and keep yourself relatively safe and get your dream house.
Right.
Bravissimo. And I make the joke all the time on air. I always say, hey, I'm going to have one of me with Funko Pops wearing a tank top. Right. So I'm not against OnlyFans. A lot of people I know are, and I don't understand why.
I tend to think it's
1920, right?
I think it's mostly misogyny. It's a lot. Most of the time, it's dudes. It's not usually women that are like, oh, these women are whores. It's usually guys. Guys do not like when women take control of their own sexuality.
Right.
That is the key right there. A lot of dudes do not want women to be able to have their own, be in charge, have the autonomy of, their own sexuality. And that's usually what it boils down to. That's what Gamergate.
I remember that.
These things have been tied to women, open, like sometimes it's just women existing, but a lot of times it's if women are, in charge of their own sexuality and dudes are just like, nope, can't have that.
So we have gatekeeping even in that regard.
Oh, hell yeah.
Goodness Lord.
Like
we talk about gatekeeping in other sports, but here too?
Yeah, like the gatekeeping thing, dudes gatekeep so much and it's annoying as hell. Like most notably has been with like the anime community and Meg Thee Stallion.
For those who don't know who that is, who is that?
Megan Thee Stallion is one of the like hottest rappers out right now. She is one of the best rappers in the game. Very unique flow. Always puts out bangers. Is very proud of her body. Very proud of her sexuality. And is also an anime nerd or geek, I should say, right? So she would always like post pictures of her in like cosplay. And you had these dudes coming out the woodworks quizzing her. oh, so you like anime? So did you watch episode such and such and such and such? I was
Really?
like, dude, if you don't shut the fuck up. So like she went on, she was on, I think it was Crunchyroll's IG Live recently, and like yeah, they were just chatting it up about stuff, and like dudes have this thing where it's like, my hypothesis is that most guys do not actually like women. A lot of these dudes don't actually like women. They actually prefer the company of men. And women are just like sex objects, essentially. Like they are masturbatory toys, essentially, is what it is.
Or accessories?
Accessories, yeah, basically. And like, because you'll have these dudes that will be like, oh yeah, like they would much rather sit around with their boys all day long, doing nothing, talking about BS. But if a woman wants to do the same stuff that y'all are doing, all of a sudden, oh, well, I got to make sure, you actually know what you're talking about. You didn't ask that dude if he knew what he was talking about. You just accepted him when he came in.
Right.
So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, y'all are annoying.
And I've gotten that problem too with the nerd community or nerd culture, because, it's been a real boon. And I'll be honest, I haven't actively participated except for the last maybe 8 years is when I really started to fully be out there participating in the nerd community.
Right.
But I have no qualms about women, men who are enjoying content. Like that stuff doesn't bother me. I go to cons all the time back in New York, especially like Comic-Con, and the amount of just bro keeping from something, because anime geeks and anime nerds, nerd culture, there's always been a veil of this is ours.
Right.
You cool people, air quotes, shouldn't be in this because this is our stuff.
Right.
Now you want to infringe on our territory. So they're playing gatekeeping turf war. And I'm thinking, this wasn't about blocking people from enjoying it.
No,
so
you wanted, for the longest time, you wanted people to watch anime.
Right.
You used to beg people to watch anime, to be like, yeah, you should watch this. It's actually really good. It's got very good writing. This is that and the other. And now that like it's mainstream, now you're like, you know what? I liked them before they had the mainstream albums. I've been listening to them since back. Dude, shut up. I used to be one of those people, and
same,
the worst, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like now, it's like just enjoy what you enjoy. Like it is. And so with guys too, especially, like you always have the ones that were like, so when it came to women, they'd be like, oh yeah, you guys didn't like us in high school. It's like, because y'all were dickheads and you didn't shower. The fuck? You didn't groom yourself. You looked like a burnt matchstick with hair. Like you guys looked horrible. Like you looked like the dudes. I remember back in like the days of anime, like y'all looked like just dust bunnies from underneath the couch. It was just disheveled. Wouldn't get haircuts. Like it didn't matter whether you were black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever you were. Like all of y'all were some swaggerless jackasses that didn't know how to talk to people, let alone women.
Right.
Didn't babe on a regular basis. We still have this issue when we go to cons.
We still have this issue at wrestling events and cons. Yeah.
Still have this. Like, how is it that like it's 2020 and y'all still smell like onions and garlic when you go out into the public space?
There are almost 200 body washes and soaps out there. Really?
What? Like literally, like you could go buy yourself. Like even if it's an issue of like spending money, go buy yourself some Dr. Bronner's. One of those costs like $13. Go get you like a little pump bottles so that you can make sure you're getting the same amount every single time. That bottle will last you all goddamn year. Stop being gross. Y'all smell bad. You look bad. Like every time I see these dudes that are like, oh yeah, y'all didn't. I was like, look at yourself in high school and look at her in high school. You didn't have a chance.
And you don't want to say it that way where it's like,
fuck that. No, fuck that. Say
it. Bro, like, okay, let's be real here. Like,
we're telling the truth.
I know we're telling a part of the truth, but in reality, you don't want to have that mindset of that. It's only about that. But what I think that makes it worse is this is ours. Just because you look or act a certain way, you are not allowed in this club.
Right.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, because I have a skincare routine, and I don't smell like the back end of a dog's chew toy. I can't be part of this movement. Whoa. Because
how dare you, sir and madam?
because I don't only have anime intros as my iTunes library, I can't be part of this. Come on now, don't do that.
It's just like with wrestling, dude. We talked about it here on the Damian G Show. Find it on SoundCloud and on Anchor.fm, as well as on Big Gold Belt Media. We talked about at the beginning of the show just how not even OnlyFans, not just anime, not even just wrestling, but just in general, like there is this upswell of gatekeeping, and this is mine. You're not privy to this because you don't fit the demographic that this was originally concocted for.
And the thing is, we weren't that demographic anyway.
I wasn't.
No, the demographic was Japanese people, not us.
Right.
To start with. So this bullshit that we have going on here is secondary. We are not the target audience.
You were not the target audience for a lot of stuff.
But we have not been the target audience up until like maybe 6 years ago.
Right.
Now that there are more anime watchers outside of Japan than there are in Japan, now they actually have to take us into account. But before, this wasn't made for us. This was made for a very specific culture.
Right.
A very specific people. So us acting like gatekeepers to it when it wasn't even ours to begin with is the funniest goddamn thing.
And we see that in wrestling a lot. We see that. You and I have been to enough shows and cons to know, ooh, wait a minute. Nah, this ain't right. This ain't it. Like we like to say, this ain't it, Chief. I'm like, let's try another way. I've seen it predominantly wrestling over the last maybe 2 years, especially with WWE and independent wrestling's women's revolution, women's wrestling in general, kind of taking mainstream because it's not reduced to just bra and panties matches anymore. It's not reduced to pillow fights. Right. It's actual women's wrestling or just wrestling, period. Intergender wrestling. And there is a big amount of people. There was a grand amount of people who don't like intergender wrestling for one. They don't like women's wrestling for two. And maybe to your point, they just don't like women involved in something that predominantly it wasn't marketed to women before the last decade or maybe the last generation.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's like, yes, my whole point of like, these dudes do not like women. That's it. A lot of it's misogyny, not even sexism, just straight up misogyny. They don't like women. Like you have these dudes be like, "Oh, you're a girl. Your opinion doesn't matter." Like the ones where it's like, "Oh, what's the other thing that they say?" But it's just a bunch of stupid nonsense that dudes will say about stuff, and it's like, all right, y'all gotta.
Prime example. We can go back to just movies. Remember the movie Little Giants?
Yes.
Icebox.
Yeah.
Middle linebacker. She happened to be a girl.
Yep.
Toughest person on the team.
Like, dude, women are like, they're equipped to take more damage than we are. Like, yes. That's kind of factual.
Like by de facto, yes. Yeah, they are.
Like by fact, they are built to last in ways that we men are not. Also, there's the lack of stupidity that men tend to not have. So yeah, like you'll have, like, I see it all the time where dudes would be like, especially like when I was still moderating, you'd have dudes that would argue and be like, "Oh, I could beat Ronda Rousey in a fight."
No, you can't. Shut up. Stop.
What?
No.
What?
Come on, bro.
You would beat who? Oh yeah, like I weigh like 100 pounds more than her. She would fold you like a fucking pretzel. She would fold you like laundry fresh out of the dryer. She would fold you like the dinner napkins at a restaurant. Like it'd be bad. She'd fold you like a pocketbook.
In other words, you get trashed.
You would get trashed. And like the thing is, I will continue to say this forever. Everybody needs to get into a fight. There's a couple of things that have to happen. Everybody needs to get into a fight, and every dude needs to experience martial arts, and they need to spar with a woman that weighs half their weight. So whether it be kickboxing, boxing, Go and spar with someone that has more experience than you. Or if you go to a grappling gym, go and grapple with a woman that is a couple belts above the beginning class and see what they do to you. It will change your entire world.
Oh, I'm not surprised by this at all. I don't even want to tempt fate to do this because I know I will get handled.
Oh yeah, no, there's plenty of videos on YouTube of, like there's one in particular, Navy SEAL, gets choked out by a woman, and like you could see he was going easy, and then she was like, all right, cool, if you want to go easy, I'm gonna show you some shit. And then he started to get serious, and he still got washed. After slamming her with every bit of his body weight, she still choked his ass the fuck out. So when it comes to like violence and stuff like that, people just don't really know what actually is. Like especially for like pro wrestling fans and stuff. So
well, it goes back to just wrestling in general, where people just call it fake, or it doesn't hurt, or the moves aren't real. Just because the storylines are premeditated and you have writers and bookers, and doesn't mean that they don't hurt, man. Again, I've told this on multiple shows. I have taken 3 bumps in my life. I have taken 10 chops to my chest in my life. I do not want to do these things for a professional living.
Like that portion of it, the impact is real.
Yes.
The fight is fake.
Of course. And
I'll argue with anybody. Like
and then next week when Dave Schultz does Dark Side of the Ring, him slapping the taste out of John Stossel's mouth.
Boy, let me tell you. I remember
John Stossel still is feeling that to this day.
He still can't hear out of that ear, I don't think.
Not surprised. And like I saw the whole clip, and I saw Vince coming at the end yelling at Dave Schultz about it. And I'm thinking, I don't remember seeing Vince jumping in at the end. But then again,
he asked, like, very, very rarely am I going to be like, you know what, you deserved it. Stossel deserved it because he poked the bear. Like, he poked the bear after, like, it's like, what did you expect? Like, especially they're still in the kayfabe days, right? Mm-hmm. So they're gonna, like, you are really going to catch it. You are going to catch a hot one, and he caught us.
Oh, he caught it. I seen it. He caught it.
That was, whew. That was
the sound that reverberated from the slap was enough for me to go, oh,
yeah. He deserved that shit.
So as we transition here on the Damian G show, as we stay in the realm of wrestling and whether or not someone deserved it, this week's Dark Side of the Ring centered around the man once dubbed as Canada's strongest man, one Dino Bravo, who I remember in my childhood because my first pay-per-view that I ever watched was a 1998 SummerSlam, a 1988 SummerSlam. I'm sorry. And Don Morocco, who we saw a couple of weeks ago on Dark Side of the Ring, faced off against Dino Bravo. And I hated Dino Bravo because I was one of those people who didn't appreciate the anti-American gimmick. Right. But what I didn't know was long before 1988, before Damian started watching wrestling, he had his own promotion. And Vince tried to get him back in 1985, 86, and he felt loyalty to his home promotion, where the Fabulous Rougeaus were thinking what's the other one?
I forgot.
Renee Rougeau.
Renee. Yeah.
Jacques and Renee, the Fabulous Rougeau brothers, who, if I had to describe them, they would be preppy Canadian douches.
Yeah.
If I had to describe them.
Wrestling was so bad back then.
Pretty decent tag team, very underrated tag team. But Jacques Rougeau, and we'll talk down the road about Jacques Rougeau, the master of many gimmicks, Mountie, Quebecer, just a whole bunch of stuff.
He was amazing in this as well.
It was great. Like, and seeing him on the show, seeing him on Dark Side of the Ring, I'm thinking, all right, who is this guy? And then I realized, oh my God,
it's the
Jacques Rougeau. He's still alive.
And yeah, that was great.
And you and I talk about all these wrestlers that have died, the Mr. Perfects of the world, Kerry Von Erichs of the world, Ultimate Warriors, so on and so forth, Macho Man, et cetera. But when I find out these random wrestlers are still alive, such as Don Morocco, such as Jacques Rougeau, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Where the hell has Jacques Rougeau been hiding this whole time? I know his brother still works for WWE as a commentator, but where the hell has Jacques been hiding? So that was the first, Okay, cool. But then when you learn about the overall product, for those who don't know wrestling,
Right.
the 80s were plenty of drugs,
So many drugs.
plenty of roids.
Everybody was on that book of sugar.
So when you have someone, again, Dino Bravo was this, he had one specific style working in I believe it was Montreal, right?
I believe, yeah.
Montreal, Quebec. And when he came to WWF at the time, they made him into a strongman wrestler where he couldn't do his normal. And this has happened now where someone wrestles a specific style in the independents, and then they're forced to work the WWE style.
Right.
Cesaro now apparently has been in the doghouse because all of his moveset gets him over, and they don't want him to get over. So Dino just became an 80s typical wrestler.
Yeah.
Kick, punch, slam. That's it. Bear hug.
Yeah.
Cool. So as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, okay, this is all part and parcel for wrestling. Lived a little bit too lavishly when they talked to his family for a wrestling salary.
Yeah.
I know Canada's a little different in terms of economy for the 80s, but really, his wife even said, "Why do we need this?" So that's the first thing that stood out to me, aside from him being so dedicated to his hometown promotion and saying, "Look, I'm going to sell out for the money because I want to take care of my family." All well and good. I'll never tell an athlete. I will never be that guy that says, "Hey, you sold out." You get paid, maximize your dollars, and do well to manage your money, because we've seen too many people go broke, i.e., as Dino Bravo's career slowly came to an end, he still needed to live the lifestyle, which was that expensive house, which was the car he bought his daughter when she was 4 years old, which
was like, bruh, because he wanted to show off. Like that was some dickhead stuff right there. Like that was some rapper shit, is what that was.
That's a good way. That's an MTV Cribs thing right there. And for me, look, I can self-disclose to the audience. My father did that once. He bought me a car when I was 21.
But you were 21 though.
Wait, but let me explain the whole I had not even gotten my license. I had never even taken a driving lesson. My father decided to buy me a brand new Honda Accord. And even though I had not taken the test, he said, "Hey, I got this for you. When you take the test and pass it, this is yours." At the time, I said, "You must be stupid. We have more important things to spend this money on. I didn't ask for this." But to your point, Dio, yes, she was 4 years old. And he told her, "This is yours when you're ready to drive it." I'm sorry.
DJ Khaled shit. That is some DJ Khaled shit.
I know we the best and all, but
like
4?
Four. Like it was the stuff that he did. Like he was living like a rapper, honestly. Like, and anytime you live like a rapper and you're not a rapper, some shit's going on.
Of course. And that's what leads you to some chicaneristic nonsense where when the career is over and you're no longer being booked and you no longer have that $300,000 income a year coming in, which I don't know if those numbers are accurate, because for 1987, 88, I think that's a little high for someone who was pretty much a gatekeeper at that point of his career.
I think that was more so in like the 90s. It was like the late 80s, early 90s. Like once rock and wrestling took off.
Yes.
That's when it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is you could afford to pay them that kind of money.
Right. But the fun stuff, as viewers watching Dark Side of the Ring, doesn't happen until after the career's over.
Yep.
As we said before, Dino had to maintain appearances, it seems. So he had no discernible skills, as his wife had said, no discernible skills.
Yeah.
All he's known is wrestling and pretty much, lifting and being a tough guy. So what are you left to do at that stage of your life? You're not going to be Steve from The Office. You're not going to do a conventional job.
Right.
Maybe being a bouncer, maybe being some sort of security guard. Or you could do the Dino Bravo method potentially and be what looks to be a mob enforcer.
Yeah.
From what we saw in the episode. It pretty much,
he had family ties beforehand, so it was like, that was the quickest way for him to make money. Yeah,
from what he was used to.
From what he was used to, yeah.
And the daughter and the wife tell, hey, the mobster they were tied to was actual family and some weird, 6 points of Kevin Bacon type stuff.
Right.
Where, they actually were related to this person. So what are you left to do? You're not making your 6 figures. You're a tough guy. You're a big dude. People, because even the journalists they were interviewing stated Dino wasn't a mobster.
Right.
He just knew people.
Right.
So he essentially, do you remember the original Daredevil movie?
Yeah.
Remember when Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin character was developing? He was a typical henchman.
Right.
And worked his way up. So Dino Bravo was a henchman.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
holy crap.
Was not built to do this stuff.
No, because they made it seem he was very sensitive and fun-loving, even though he had a temper.
Right.
So if you're a fun-loving, nice person, where's the didactic shift internally for you to say, yeah, I'm going to threaten people for, paying up their loans or whatever the case may be.
Right. And also is throwing people into their Corvettes and shit because they said something wrong. And then it's like, oh, you don't do that type of stuff if you don't have the metaphorical muscle to back it up. Because sure, you could throw people around, but nobody can outrun a bullet.
Right. And for those who didn't watch, there was a story between Jacques Rougeau, who apparently has 9 lives, apparently, the way this is told. He was in a bar fight while he was 18, I believe. That's what he said. So underage drinking. Good job there, Jacques Rougeau. So he was mouthing off to one of the Quebec Nordiques, and apparently they were both Montreal Canadiens fans. And if anyone knows sports rivalries, the Nordiques and the Canadians did not really see eye to eye. The fandom did not. It's for my New York fans out there, Yankees, Red Sox. Just think of it that way. The Giants versus the entire NFC East. The Cowboys against everybody and their mama. Just look at it that way.
Yeah.
So there was a bar fight, and before this Nordiques player was about to beat the crap out of Jacques Rougeau, again, Mr. 9 Lives, Dino comes in, Jack's homeboy, takes him outside, bashes the guy's head into the guy's own Corvette.
Yeah.
What?
I'm popping the trunk if you do that shit to me. That's a what?
To quote Bone Crusher, we about to see about you.
Yeah, that is no, this is y'all, you out of your fucking mind. What? If you are going to lift me up and then slam my head into the shit, if I have the wherewithal to get back up, I'm bringing something that's very sharp, or I'm bringing something that can put holes in you like that.
Finish the job, right?
And that is the issue that he ran into, right? He was not built for this. No. If you know anything about organized crime, there's a hierarchy. There is respect. There are things that you should do and that you should not do. So he absolutely was doing things that he should not have been doing. He made all the wrong enemies. Every single enemy that he could make, he did make, and did not have anything to back it up. He was just a dude.
He was a guy.
He was just a guy.
Got in over his head from all accounts.
Way over his head. It was just didn't make any sense.
Right. So as the documentary continues, they talk about him procuring, first off, cigarette smuggling. That blew my mind. That
was a thing. That was a thing. It was big down here too, because once cigarettes got to be, it's we got the smuggling of cigarettes was when they upped the tax on stuff. Okay. So once they upped the tax in the United States, that's when they started doing this. People would, either just straight up hijacking trailers or just robbing facilities and then selling the stuff on the black market.
Okay.
Because you would go, because a carton of cigarettes used to be dirt cheap. And now it's, a carton of cigarettes that smoking cigarettes will bankrupt you now. So they didn't have that same, it's been a thing. It's been a thing basically.
Well, 'cause I didn't know it was that severe because you remember prohibition, and when things are outlawed and illegal, of course that's when a lot of people start smuggling things in. But I didn't think cigarettes until they talked about it, where when it shipped over, because again, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is Canada, this is another country, this isn't the United States of America. So you had to smuggle it through, and the way they talked about it through potentially through the Native Americans, which blew my mind, and then through the trucks, and how we always see with the way things are smuggled. Right. So as the documentary continues, and again, for those who don't know, Dio and I used to do a show called Podcast Champs, and there was a segment called Damian Doesn't Know. This was one of those Damian doesn't know moments for that last half of that documentary, because to Dio's point, organized crime is not something I'm well versed in. So learning about some of these little nuances had me very captivated. Yeah. So knowing that Dino Bravo, a man of supposed average intelligence, not built for being a part of the criminal syndicate, as it were, was now leading a smuggling ring, or at least skimming off the top. It didn't really clarify. That led to about a $400,000 deal that went wrong.
It went wrong. So $400. So I don't know whether that is in USD or whether it's in Canadian dollars. Right.
Right.
So I'll give you both what they would be with inflation.
Yes.
For Canada at the time, $400,000 in 1993 when he died would have been, in 2020 money, $400,000 would be $641,314.55.
Oh my God.
In USD, that would be $714,505. So like
$750,000.
Right. So people die for a tenth of that.
Yes.
So to blow something like that, especially when this is not your lifestyle that you are built, equipped for, learn.
Not your forte.
Yeah, it's not your forte. Like, this is one of those things. So I'm a true crime junkie, like love organized crime stuff. I listen to the podcast all the time. And you have the criminals that are essentially groomed to do this. Mm-hmm. And that were built that like they were, it's the Bane line from, you merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it.
I was born into it.
Right? Like, that's the difference here. You have the guys that become organized crime bosses later on in life that have nothing of it. And that's why their reign is short, because they always fuck up, because they're not groomed for it. They don't have the knowledge of how to navigate this system, because it is a system.
Right.
And with the guys that are like, okay, mafiosos they've been doing this, some of them since they were, born, essentially. So yeah, he wouldn't built for this. And to blow something like that, like, it'd be one thing if you were a boss that had the social cachet within that world and had the respect of others, and they see, okay, there was a mistake here. All right, you're gonna pay in some way, but we're not gonna kill you. But if you don't have that,
it's almost as if it's low man on totem pole, just thought process. Like, okay, here was a typical. Would you call him a grunt? Would you say he was a grunt?
Yeah.
Or maybe a mid-level grunt if we're talking fighting games or RPGs or whatever.
Like, if we're talking like as far as like his abilities in he's like the first level boss in Final Fight.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's like the first, you know what it is? It's the first time that you fight like Andor.
Oh, okay.
So it's like tougher than the rest of the guys.
But as the game progresses, he's still a regular dude.
He's just like, oh, Andor showed up. I'm gonna fuck him up bad.
Oh man, we just made a Dino Bravo Andor connection. And for those who don't know who Andor is, if you've played Final Fight, it is basically a it's Hugo from Street Fighter 3. Let's just put it out there.
Who is Andre the Giant?
Yes, who was Andre the Giant.
Literally, his name is Andore.
Andore, and then there's Andore Jr. and just a whole bunch of stuff. So he's Andore. Okay.
He is any of the, like, when you run into those the bigger specialized characters that had a second bar of life. So tougher, but not necessarily harder.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So Dino won this deal for however much, and allegedly I'm saying allegedly because, hey, we don't know for sure, even though I know in the case of this situation, all signs point to yes. He was executed.
Yeah.
He was in his recliner watching the Canadians, which we also find out the night before he calls Jacques Rougeau, Master of the Nine Lives, to come see him. And Jacques Rougeau even says, hey, him and I aren't that close at that time. Why is he calling me? So he says, hey, I can't come today, but I'm going to come tomorrow. And on Jacques' trip up to go see Dino, he finds out Dino's dead.
Yeah. This is a common theme. It's a common theme in this Dark Side of the Ring stuff.
Yeah, somebody winds up dead in Dark Side of the Ring.
Or rather, no, somebody always makes a call to somebody that they have no real connection with. Out of the blue.
Why me? Right.
It's like, why me? Yeah. Like, yeah, it's interesting.
When you bring that up, that's actually an interesting point. So I think that what we can take from this first part is just saying, hey, if you ever get a random call from someone who you know, but you're not really tight with, just answer the phone or at least send them a text and say, you good? Because
this
they're reaching out to you. They're reaching out to you. That's a problem.
Right.
So Dino apparently, while watching the Canadians game that night, gets executed, shot in the head, shot in the chest, killed in his recliner.
Yep.
His wife and his daughter were at ballet. The daughter was taking, I think, ballet lessons at the time, and they came back and found him dead. And all signs point to this potentially being a mob hit. Now, the big dun 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 is who done it. Because no one really can figure it out. At the end of the documentary, you're left thinking, was it the Native Americans who put the hit out on him? Was it the biker gang, which made it feel like I was watching an episode of Sons of Anarchy?
Like, where'd the biker gang come from?
I thought that was pulled out of left field, just random. Or was it the crime family he was already working with as a lower end muscle?
Or was it one of the many people that he pissed the fuck off, like the dude who he slammed their head into their Corvette? Like, when you do shit like that, you tend to make a lot of enemies.
Right.
And, like, so the list of the possible enemies is vast for this man.
Right. And he died in 1993, I believe. So the case is still open. And will we ever find out? Probably not in my lifetime. I'd be surprised if it happened in my lifetime.
I don't think we're ever going to find out. Like, if something's not, if with most things, if something is not, like, found within 30 years of it happening, probably not going to happen. Like, unless you unearth some, tape where somebody admits to killing him, it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Like, that's just going to be one of pro wrestling's
mysteries.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point of Dark Side of the Ring is just to kind of shed light. If y'all are old enough to know what Unsolved Mysteries is.
I just heard the fucking music playing in my head.
Because whenever I say Robert Stack or Unsolved Mysteries, that's what people first think of. So Unsolved Mysteries was that first. For some of you younger folk, was it like with the guy from Star Trek, Jonathan Frakes?
Yeah.
Believe it or not kind of thing. So you had the paranormal, you had these murders or these disappearances that were never solved. And then it was hosted by Robert Stack, who was formerly of the Untouchables, the voice of Ultra Magnus from the Transformers movie. And I know I'm dating myself by saying this, everybody, but bear with me. Just Robert Stack was a big time voiceover celebrity back then. Yeah. And he fit in with this show because that show was freaking creepy. And the theme song, creepy like, in and of itself. Also, so Dark Side of the Ring has now filled that void for me as unsolved mysteries for terms of wrestling.
Yeah.
And we won't know if what really happened to Dino Bravo, who killed him, or because people say he knew the attacker, he knew the assailant because the door was unlocked.
But then again, they were like his door was always unlocked, so it's like
which I get mad at people. I get mad at people who don't lock their freaking doors.
Like that is the wildest shit. Like that is the wildest shit that I have ever heard of. Is like not locking the door to your house. What?
Right.
Like
no.
There's no way. Like first thing I do when I get in the house, it is instinct. Close the door behind me, clack, lock it. That's it. Instantly.
Right.
I do that. And like anytime it comes up on Twitter and people are like, oh yeah, we didn't lock our doors when we were a kid. And I was like, where'd you live? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because you had to live in a very good part of town to not lock your doors. What?
Oh, shout out, because I know he's going to watch this. Topher, how many times have I told you to lock your door when I go visit you? And then you always give me ish because I tell y'all, you never know if someone's going to walk in that you don't want them to walk in. So I'll be the first to admit, when I first moved to Dallas, I was explaining this to people. They were not understanding the whole concept of locking my door.
Right now, you gotta lock your door. Like two things in life: wash your ass, lock your door. Like this is like you can't. I do not understand the whole thing of not locking doors because it's just like, wow, how can you not lock your door? This is insanity.
Right? I'm like, no, there is no way I trust people that much, strangers, mind you. Let alone people I know, that I'm not going to lock my door. Shoot, I lock my windows when I leave the damn house. I don't care if I'm in a safe area.
No. I'm on the third goddamn floor, and I could leave my window and my sliding door open, and I'd have no issues. I'm not gonna do it though.
I'm doing it.
Fuck. Spider, like fucking night monkey might show up and attack me one night. Like I have to like. There are like always the unknown, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe some crazy person scales my damn balcony and now I have to go out there and fight Mortal Kombat style and like win with the uppercut. Like there's so many ridiculous things that'll never happen that run through my head as to why I got to plan for it.
Of course, you never know. See, thank you. Someone who understands.
You never know. You never know what is going to happen. Like what?
Yo, people are paranoid for that.
Right. Like, and I'm pretty sure Unsolved Mysteries absolutely made me this extra paranoid too, because the weird stuff that goes on there. But like, I have to lock my door. Have to. And like, especially like when I hear women say that they don't lock their doors, I'm just like,
what are you doing?
How? What? No, that's first precaution. Of course, if somebody's trying to break into your house, they're going to be able to kick the door down if they want to. Like, but like still, just a door being locked is enough to deter most people. But like, that is not a thing for me. It's something that I guess it's a very much an American thing. And then it's a very specific demographic in America. Because like outside of the United States,
So Dino didn't lock his door, apparently. And he, from all accounts, was gunned down by two separate assailants. Shot him from behind, shot him in the front. And I think the thing we can take from, as we said before, just when you're trying to live the life and you can no longer live the life you formerly lived as a professional wrestler, and you have no other discernible skills, maybe back then, if there was such a thing as wrestling schools like we have pop up now, he could have been a wrestling, teacher and things like that. But
by all accounts, he was a great hand,
good wrestler.
He was and great in the promotion as a promoter. So
different timeline. Different times. So I think for me, the biggest thing I'm going to take is one, damn. But another thing, a little wrinkle, was the way his wife and his late wife and daughter, or his wife and daughter, I should say, he's the late one, were essentially acting as if it was out of the realm of possibility that he would even do something like this.
Right.
Where the evidence, and I understand, and we talked about this, and I understand believing in family and believing in loved ones and wanting to see the good in them, especially if they are no longer among the living.
Mm-hmm.
But when all the evidence is pointing to your father or your husband being a part of organized crime, and not even just denying, it was more skirting around it.
Right. Yeah. It's like they only remember the good parts about him. They only
Which is
want
fine. If that's how you choose to do it, you choose to only remember the good parts of your husband and father. But you can't just ignore
all this other stuff. And it's not like it was like maybe this happened. Like there's police records, there are witnesses. Everybody in wrestling knew. All of his friends and like knew that he was doing this stuff. So
his neighbor knew. He even said, "Yeah, I knew."
Yeah. So this is not like this is something. It was hidden from everybody. No, it was out in the open. It was common knowledge that he was doing said things, right? Mm-hmm. So for them to like be like, yeah, I just, I don't see how this could happen. He was the nicest person. He was like, because I remember like with the wife, they're like, oh yeah, he was the nicest person. But also she was like, oh yeah, but he had a bad temper.
Yeah.
It's like, no. These two things don't match. This is no. Mm-mm.
So it's not because you said he has a temper. It is not out of the realm of possibility that this is something that he could have done.
Right.
And you asked me off air, psychologically, maybe why are they doing that? And beside the hero worship of the daughter of the father, because you hear her at the end say, if he was still here, I would want him to be play wrestling with his grandkids. Right. And his grandson is the spitting image of him. And with the wife and we've seen this a lot in relationships where just denial, because that's all you got after a while. That's all you're left to hold on to, because by confronting the potential truth can do more harm to your psyche than good, because you yourself don't think you can handle it, because you choose to view a person in a particular light. Look, blind spots for people before, I understand it. But if I'm being forced with, my man, look at this, all signs point to this. Can you really ignore what's being shown to you? Can you really put the ostrich head in the sand and say, no, that wasn't my, like, it's like those parents that swear their kids don't do anything wrong when they do things that are illegal. Oh, my baby, they wouldn't do anything like that. Oh no, they wouldn't do anything like that. They did.
Right. There's always, for me, it's like the guy, like when people like are shown to be like serial killers.
Yes.
And then their family's like, I don't believe this is happening. Like there was DNA evidence. He kept the items in your house. Yeah. He kept items of clothing and jewelry and other trinkets from the people that he killed in your house. Yeah. And you're still acting like, oh, I don't know how this could happen. Somebody planted it. What? Right. So yeah, it's one of those weird things. It's just like it made it uncomfortable for me.
At the end, it was
when the daughter was talking, because it was just like, even for her, because she was like, she must have been 6.
She was 6 when he passed. Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't actually have memories with him. She doesn't have many like burned in memories with him, mm-hmm. Right? So like this is gonna be so she has essentially built up him to be something that she wants him to be in her mind.
Hero worship.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, he's this great thing, and it was like everything the contrary. Like
it's the superhero you thought he was.
Yeah. Or the superhero that you want him to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So. And it got uncomfortable. And I honestly, when she started crying, I empathized. I understood, because on obviously a lower scale, I always looked at my father as my hero when I was younger. And as I got older, I saw all my dad's warts. But here's the difference. I'm able to say, because her and I are actually in a similar age bracket, I'm able to say, yeah, I love my dad. He was my best friend for a long time. I know his warts. I knew his warts early. So for me to go through, if my dad had died when I was 7, I probably would say, hey, what was my dad like? And then everything I would say about him would probably be a fantasy because I was never able to form any kind of conscious connection to my dad.
Mhm.
And that's what she's experiencing. And I feel for her. And anyone who's on these shows, who is featured, who has lost a loved one, the Nancy Benoit's families of the world, the just knowing the Argentino family, this family, eventually when we get to Owen Hart, that loss from the Hart side of the family, it's a lot. It's a lot, dude.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And I can sit here and say, I can give you my Dr. Damian mentality of being a grief counselor and say, the ways to process grief. Man, everybody processes it differently. And one of the sneaky takeaways from this episode is I don't think his daughters processed the grief.
No, I don't think most. That is an issue. It's a common issue. One thing, but like, there's only been one person that's really, truly processed loss in a way that seems beneficial, and that was Draws.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be the only person that seems to have lost. He lost everything basically, and is still. Oh yeah, it's cool. It's all right. Like, I'm still alive. I'm still able.
Here.
I'm still here, and like, that is, nobody else processed it properly.
But maybe that's just it. Maybe it's he's still here, whereas everyone else lost somebody. So it's a different level of acceptance that they are themselves not ready to actually take. And that happens. And as we go through the season and past seasons of Dark Side of the Ring, these are the things to keep an eye out on, to keep an eye out for. Is this family? And then this is just me with my therapist hat on. Is this something that people are processing properly? Or is this potentially bringing up some more gunk from inside themselves to, I haven't properly processed this. Here we go again. Hello, trauma, my old friend. Mm-hmm. And I think for watching it back, I think a lot of families, when they're agreeing to tell the story, may not be fully aware after it's aired and the repercussions after it airs,
right,
of being able to kind of deal with, okay, this came up for me now, because it comes up when you have this kind of just this bubble in your system. Whenever you're having to force to relive a traumatic experience, this resistance comes up, and then there's transference, and then you're putting yourself back in the situation all over again, and it's Groundhog Day. We talk about people reliving Groundhog Day all the time. Can they process it? And that's why I was worried about David Benoit.
Yeah. I'm still
worried about David Benoit. Right. He has not. As much as the documentary would make you believe, hey, his dad's his hero, my man has not processed that. Up here, has not worked through that.
Because, like, for me, this is what I'm terrified of. There's two scenarios. Either someone's going to say something about his father, he's going to snap, or he's going to want to do the same thing that his father did.
And those might be worst case scenarios.
And I don't mean wrestling. I think he would want to reenact what his father did in the final moments. That's the part that terrifies me, because that was hero worship to a level that it's not like it was here where it's like, yeah, my dad was killed, this is that and the other. He was, but like with David Benoit, he's just like there's complete blinders on. Mm-hmm. To him, it's like, oh yeah, no, my dad's the greatest person on earth. He was that person that did that wasn't my dad. And that's the thing, like, my fear is that he will finally accept that was his father that did that, and he's going to want to follow in those footsteps. And that's the part where I'm just like, like you said, he needs to process this properly, because this is, at this point, what now? He is the eldest son of Chris Benoit. So he is probably in his late 20s, early 30s now.
He has to be early 30s.
Early 30s. So like you've got 20 years worth of 15 years worth of trauma now.
Mm-hmm.
Or 13 to 15 years worth of trauma which you have not worked through properly.
And that gives me, cause for worry. And I hope any of these families, and I know we've talked about it for the last couple of weeks, just us watching it, you and I can process this and have this conversation, but maybe someone out there watching Dark Side of the Ring may not be able to process this because it might hit a little too close to home.
Right, yeah.
I remember the Snuka episode last week. Tamina went on social media and literally said, I'll be back Friday.
Yeah.
Before it was aired. Smartly. Because she didn't want to deal with the backlash of people texting her or tweeting her or DMing her or messaging her about her father, and just wasn't about that. And you don't have to be related to these people to actually feel some sort of connection. You could literally have something that happened similarly that you can connect to. Everyone's lost somebody at some point in their life. You can connect to that. Some people have lost them in traumatic ways. We've all experienced some sort of trauma. Don't let therapist Damon tell you, don't let anyone say they've never experienced 1 ounce of trauma.
Yeah.
Everyone's experienced trauma.
Everybody has.
If you are a human being living on this planet, you have experienced some form of trauma. And it is my hope while watching these episodes that people are able to properly process what they've gone through. That is my only wish for them, to be healthy and to be happy and content with where things are. And when the documentary brings the story to light, they are able to process and move on and live a life that isn't living potentially in the past all of the time.
Right. And this is like the thing that I've noticed with it's a point that I always make is like pro wrestling has built like a bubble of people that are kind of disconnected from reality. Because in order to be a pro wrestling fan, you have to disconnect from reality, especially once kayfabe was done, right? And like a lot of people do not understand the gravity of things that happen, right? Especially like when we see moves and stuff, so on and so forth, that when people botch and people get like seriously injured and people are just like, oh, it didn't look that bad. It's like, no, like, y'all don't. Pro wrestling has warped people's concepts of violence. Violence
desensitized almost.
Yeah, desensitized. Yeah, violence is not violence to them. Essentially, like it's, they think, oh yeah, if I just pick somebody up and slam them onto the concrete, it's not gonna hurt. No, if you pick someone up and you slam them on their back, you could literally break their back. Like they're trained in pro wrestling to take these things. But even still, like when something botches and somebody gets like seriously injured, like you can tell anybody that knows anything about combat sports or has seen like injuries in other sports, they know how people react when they're really hurt.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that like, because you'll see it's weird because like you'll see like when somebody gets hurt in the ring and like they'll have gifs of it, within an hour, and they're making fun of, oh, this your favorite person in the ring? This doesn't even look real. I was like, see, this is how I know y'all don't actually know what real is, because that's what actual hurt looks like.
Yes, that's what real pain looks like.
Not selling, like when one of my things, like everybody was like, oh yeah, when you watch and somebody goes and gets super kicked and you see them like they hit the ground and they get back up and they're like, blah, 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 and then they fall back over. No, that's not how that works. Like Zab Judah, when he got hit by Kostya Tszyu,
I remember this.
He flopped, came back up, was not on his, was completely out of sorts. I'm completely out of
focus. There you go. Out of sorts, yeah.
I'm out of sorts. That's probably what he saw. Got up, like was trying to talk to the ref and fell back down. Right. That's as close as you're gonna get to like a Ric Flair flop. Like
good comparison.
When when people get hit in pro wrestling and stuff like that, there's the sell, and it's like, oh, I gotta pantomime all this stuff. It's like, no, like when people get hit for real, it doesn't look that way, right? Like just like with movies and stuff like that, people think, oh yeah, I can get shot, I'm gonna survive. No. Most of the time, if you get shot center of mass, there's a good chance you're gonna die. If not from the bullet itself tearing up the inside, you will exsanguinate and bleed completely out.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't get there in time, infection will set in. Right?
And yet people think they could survive.
Yeah, so people be like, oh, I could take a hollow tip. No. Like, everyone needs to like understand what like actual violence and things like that looks like, not out of morbid curiosity, but just to get an understanding of things, because we see it all the time where people are like, oh, that's a stiff hit and this is that and the other. It's like, yo, no.
And that's why you and I are here, to be able to have these kinds of conversations and let people know that what you see is not always reality in terms of combat sports and wrestling and just in general. The proverbial, I could take it. No, more often than not, you can't.
Right.
Because getting punched in the face hurts. I don't know the last time someone's been hit in the face when they say, oh, my prime beef is the people that say, oh, I would.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
Oh, I would.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks where it's like, Mike Tyson's got the best. That's the best line. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Punched in the face.
And it's true. It's true. Like as an adult, when I started to do like kickboxing training, I hadn't been punched like with intent to do harm since like high school, middle school, something like that. So next thing I know, I get hit. The bells are ringing. Like vision was whoa, what is going on here? That shit hurt. That shit hurt a lot. And like most people are not built to take that or don't have the proper training to take that type of stuff.
Right. And
like when it comes to a lot of these stories and stuff like that, people are like, man, what? He really went out like that? I thought he'd be tougher. It was like when you start talking about stuff like guns and shit like that, that changes the ball game, you know. Or
they tougher than you. That's what I would think. They tougher than you. So
yeah, but it's like it's weird, but I believe that it's because they have had to like separate reality, you know. They have to kind of just like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna worry about whether this is realistic or not. Like I just want to enjoy this stuff.
Right.
But once it comes to like when real life stuff happens, it's like, you know, that's why with like the whole Benoit thing, that stupid conspiracy theory about, oh, there was some gang that showed up at his house. People saw them. They came in with a van or something like that, and a bunch of dudes in black came out and did it. It was like, what the fuck are y'all talking about?
What hijo de fantasma bullcrap is that?
Right. Like it's this that is, and that's some of the other thing. Like they've been like trained to think of these stupid storylines for so long that they think that stupid storylines are what happened in real life.
Oh my God. Wrestling fans, if you need someone to talk to get you a daily dose of reality, I'm your guy, because I am a licensed counselor, so I can do this stuff. But some of y'all really need to kind of connect the dots.
Yeah, and this is the thing that you guys need to understand. Like Occam's razor.
Mm-hmm.
The path that is usually the easiest is usually the path that is the truest. Like there's no reason to make these things out to be something way crazier than they actually are.
Sometimes they just are. Sometimes
it just is what it is. Like when people like pass away, you know, like something happened. He was drunk, walked across the street when he shouldn't have, and got hit by a car. Oh, well, actually what happened was there was a homeless man that came out of nowhere and pushed him into the street. No, it wasn't that. Or like when people are like at home and they get found, you know, and looks like it might be suicide, or it might have been like somebody broke into the house. Sometimes people just fall off of a ladder when they're trying to get something out of a cabinet.
Sometimes it's not as complicated as you want it to be.
Sometimes it's, he might have, you never know. Blood clot breaks loose. Next thing you know, it's in your brain. You're done.
Aneurysm done. Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes it's just the simplest stuff. But in order for family members, I can understand, because you need to figure out, you need closure. Yeah. But for like wrestling fans, it's like y'all are just out here being stupid and disrespecting people's legacies and so on and so forth, and people's memories by adding these weird spins to stuff. You're not booking a match. This is not a custom.
I was gonna say you're not booking a custom match here, y'all. So that is how we're gonna bring this all back to beginning to end. So I want to thank everybody for listening in the last couple of weeks. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate when you all DM me at Damian G347. Thank you to Deo, as always, for being a valuable resource to this show. I could not do what I do without his input and support. So thank you so much. You can find him at I'm Just DEO on all social media platforms. Deo.shoots.
I actually did update it.
I did see you update it. Very, very nice, by the way. And I did tell you what I really enjoyed from the shoots you did. So go on Instagram, Deo.shoots. You can see his photography. He's good.
Once all this stuff's over, I am going to be doing more. I am going to have different body types, different sexual identities. I'm trying to have as many, genders, what have you. I want to be able to capture everybody. It's my goal. Once Rona Lisa decides to go away.
Rona Lisa, can you leave on Sunday? Never mind. But stay safe, everybody, as always. Damian G347, Twitter, Instagram. Be well. Anchor.fm, thank you for allowing me to put this on your network. Shout out to Big Gold Bell Podcast for continuing to have me as a member of the team. Love you all. Without you, there is no us. Please be well and be safe. And